So the UN said that it is more of a possibility. Well, I'm just going to start reading some things because it's about the year of 2023. And I hate to be the one to say this, but I'm not the one really saying it. But I'm just reading from what I'm learning about 2023 that it isn't really that much better or going to be that much better than 2022. So let me just go into this. So this is several different articles of different things that could be awaiting us in the new year. So the UN said that nuclear war is back within the realm of possibility. So they say here are the places in the US that most likely to be hit in a nuclear attack. I know it sounds crazy and it sounds scary, but this is what is reality, and we have to look at things for what they really are and stop pretending like everything is happy because it isn't. So this is by Alex Lockie and Abby Shull and Sonam Chef. And so I'm not reading this to get a bunch of likes. I'm not reading it to get a bunch of followers because I know some people will still swear up and down, oh, everything is happy and nothing bad is happening. When it is, to ignore reality is not dealing with it. And at some point, we're going to all have to deal with it in some shape, form, or fashion. And I'm going to just describe here in some various ways how this can affect us. The things that are about to happen in 20 are possibilities that, strong possibilities that they're going to happen. So this is one, I just figured I'd go with this one first because this seems a little more, more dramas involved in this. It's not even just drama, it's very scary. But, you know, I mean, this is the life we are in. Um, so I know you see this picture. This picture is very scary looking to look at. So this is like a plume of smoke, and it is, a nuclear attack. And what I do know is that even if they're attacking one place, many other places can be affected by it in a lot of ways. And just from the smoke can darken the sky, the ash, the soot can spread like thousands of miles away, can affect a lot of people's breathing. There could be some kind of radioactive material that's inside of those bombs that once they detonate it or they send it up and and allow it to explode, it could affect a lot of people, and it kill a lot of people, fast or slow. So either way, I do know that much. You know, um, I don't think that anybody that is aware or has some knowledge of this would not discount this as being credible um, news because we have had the issue with the Ukrainian and Russian war, and that still rages on. So that I believe has a lot to do with this. So it goes into saying that trying to see if I can get a good now. Okay, here. So the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said this year that nuclear war is back within the realm of possibility. So Russian President Vladimir Putin also suggested in December that Russia may abandon its no first use military doctrine. So a Russian nuclear attack would likely focus on high value targets in North Dakota or Montana. And so And don't think because, oh, that's happening in another state, that's not going to affect us. Somehow it can affect us. Somehow. Believe me, you. So the UN Secretary General said the nuclear war is back within realm of possibility following Russia's warning earlier this year. It was putting its nuclear forces on alert amid of its war in Ukraine, which threatens to draw NATO into direct combat with Russia. So since then, nuclear threats have continued to raise concerns. A nuclear weapon could be used in a conflict for the first time in decades. Okay, so much of the focus as of late has been on the risk of Russian President Vladimir Putin using a nuclear weapon in Ukraine in a desperate move to change his army's fortunes on the battlefield. So Russia may abandon its no first use military doctrine, which says Russia would only use nuclear weapons as a last resort. So they, the US, have it in their strategy in the documents. It is spelled out a preventative blow. So Putin said at a news conference in Krix. Now I may not be able to say this or pronounce this. Kyrgyzstan. We, on the other hand, have formulated a retaliatory strike in our strategy. So if we're talking about this disarming strike, then maybe think about adopting the best practices of our American partners and their ideas for ensuring their security, he added. So we're just thinking about it. So, in between here, mind you, most of the articles that I've come across, they're not as lengthy. So I don't know. I don't think this one is as lengthy. The other two that I came across are a whole nother ball game that I believe affects most of the U.S. population, and it is not good either. Um, so let me go on. So if we're talking about disarming strike, it says maybe think about adopting the best practice of our American partners and their ideas for ensuring their security, he added. So we're just thinking about it. So while the risk of tension between the US and Russia escalating to open conflict and nuclear war is low, the threat it exists. Okay. So in 2017, Russian state media detailed how Moscow would annihilate U.S. cities and areas after a nuclear treaty collapsed and put the Cold War rivals back in targeting mode. A shocking threat, even by the Russian regime extreme standards. So, hyping up a then new hypersonic nuclear capable missile. Russian state TV said the Pentagon Camp David Jim Creek Naval Radio Station in Washington, Fort Ritchie in Maryland, McClellan Air Force Base in California would be targets, according to Reuters. That's pretty deep. So, hey, that is close enough to home as it can be. That's what I can say. But the latter two have been closed for over 2 decades, making them strange choices for targets. So, with most everything from Russia or its heavily censored media, it's best to take its claims with a grain of salt, is what they say, instead of taking Russia's word for it. When it comes to nuclear targets, Insider got an expert opinion on where Moscow would likely try to strike. And so it goes, I guess, this far, this article right here. So let me see if there's anything more. So since the Cold War, the US and Russia have drawn up plans on how to best wage nuclear war against each other. And while large population centers with huge cultural impact may seem to like obvious choices, strategists believe a nuclear attack will focus on countering the enemy's nuclear forces, destroying them before they can counterattack. So, according to Stefan Schwartz, he's an author of Atomic Audit, the cost of consequences of U.S. nuclear weapons since 1940. So the Cold War progressed. Improvements in the nuclear weapons and intelligence collection technologies enabled greater precision in where those weapons were amid the emphasis in targeting shifting from cities to nuclear stockpiles and nuclear war related infrastructure. So, this map shows the central points Russia would have to attack to wipe out the U.S. nuclear forces, according to Schwartz. So, there's a book that pretty much lays out what would be. So, a map that shows essential points Russia would have to attack to wipe out the U.S.'s nuclear forces, according to Schwartz. So, the map represents targets for an all-out attack on a U.S. fixed nuclear infrastructure, weapons, command, control centers. But even a massive attack like this wouldn't guarantee anything, so it's exceedingly unlikely that such an attack would be fully successful. So Swartz told insiders. So there's an enormous amount of variables in pulling off an attack like this flawlessly, and it would have to be flawless. Um, If even a handful of weapons escape, the stuff you missed will be coming back at you. So even if every single U.S. intercontinental ballistic missile, silo stockpile nuclear weapon, the nuclear capable bomber were flattened, U.S. nuclear submarines could and would retaliate. So, according to Swartz, at any given time, the U.S. has 4 to 5 nuclear armed submarines on hard alert in their patrol areas awaiting orders for launch. So, basically, it's just giving a rundown of what the U.S. would do as a counterattack and what are of the some of the weapons that the U.S. possesses in such a situation. So none of it sounds good because, in the scheme of all of this, a lot of people could die. Um, so even high-ranking officials in the U.S. military don't know where the silent submarines are. And there's no way Russia could chase them all down before they're fired back, which Schwartz said could be done in as little as 5 to 15 minutes, but a strike on a relatively sparsely populated area could still lead to death, destruction across the U.S. Exactly, that's what I was saying. It still doesn't, save people from getting killed, but a strike on a relatively sparsely populated area could lead to death, destruction across the U.S. depending on how the wind blew. So that's because of a fallout. And so there's a blast zone, fallout zones. So it goes into detail about what all of that's about. And so the U.S. has strategically positioned the bulk of its nuclear forces, which double as nuclear targets far from population centers, but if you happen to live next to an ICBM silo, fear not. So there's a 0.0% chance that Russia could hope to survive an act of nuclear aggression against the U.S., according to Schwartz. So while we live under a nuclear sword of Damocles, Schwartz added, people in the big cities like New York, Los Angeles most likely shouldn't worry about being struck by a nuclear weapon, so they say. So I think that is pretty much the article right there. So if you want to look at it, I will leave this article, this particular article in Yeah, just take a look at that plume of smoke. That is not something that you want to see. It's not something to be excited about. Just you know, even though they claim, oh, it's not going to be as bad as it seems. For certain areas. These are people that are looking, they're drawing and reaching for straws for the brighter side of things. There is no amount of brightness in any war. Let me tell you that. None whatsoever. So, anybody doing that, you're really reaching far and deep. That's what I'm going to say about that one. So, I'm going to start reading something. And then to add to this, and I was looking at it earlier, and when I was looking at it, I was like, oh shoot, this is going to create some more drama. So let me read this. Let's start from the first article. They're both short, and then I will put the article title underneath this one as well, because I feel like all of this somehow is connected, and I'll tell you why. So let me go into this and read this. So, a farmer predicts the worst food shortages, higher prices in 2023 amid inflation, drought, interest rates hikes. So the U.S. is in the midst of a major food security threat, Tennessee dairy farmer says. So basically, he's going into this. He says the drought, supply chain shortages, and the rising cost of doing business led to a difficult 2022 in American farmers, and 2023 could be even worse. A fourth generation dairy farmer said. So I definitely think that we have a food security threat. Niece Stephanie Nash, a Tennessee farmer and agriculture advocate, told Fox News this. So I believe 2023 is going to be rough, worse than this year. So food prices have been outpacing overall inflation 2022, as November food prices showed 10.6% increase compared to last year, while overall inflation hit 7.1%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So overall inflation versus food inflation. They give a graph in the article, and you can see it. Now that is that one article right there that I just read. And I will put that in the description box. You can read more. Now, this one goes into far more detail as to why these food shortages are happening, and this probably kind of ties into what we see here. Um, so this article says there's four foods that you may not be able to buy in the grocery store in the year of 2023. So this, I feel like when they say this in the article, it's it's scary, but it's real. It says stock up before they're gone. And it basically shows a food aisle in a grocery store. And so that's pretty much what the pictures are showing. And it's just going through the rundown of why they're having the shortages. So it's a lot more descriptive and detailed as to why it's happening. So I thought this was made more sense, because it's not just saying there's going to be a food shortage, but it says, well, why is there? So when heading into 2023, it's best to be aware of certain food shortages. So we rounded up four common grocery store items that might be more difficult to find in the supermarket than others in the upcoming year, so that you can stock up on them. And so what's scary about this, people panic, and just like when the coronavirus news came out, a lot of that, people panic and stockpile. They stock up, they panic buy. And so this definitely is not going to make it any better, but it says the worst is yet to come food fears. This is what a farmer is also saying. So, number one, they have it listed. This article is not long, but it is very detailed, so I thought it was essential to read this. So, as reported by Mashed is what it's called, with the continuation of Russia's war in Ukraine, notes that these countries account for nearly 20% of the global cereal grain production, so many bakeries and factories may struggle to obtain necessary ingredients to make bread, leading to potential shortages in 2023. So, an August 2022 McKinsey report also indicated that 2023 might be worse, as it estimated the crop production in Ukraine will decline by 35% to 45% in the next harvesting season, which began in July. So, number two is sunflower and palm oil. So, according to the Brookings Institution in 2020, 52% of the global traded sunflower seed oil came from Ukraine. See how it all ties into Ukraine or Russia, some having to do with what's going on over there. So, currently, edible oil supply chains are disrupted and edible oil prices increased even higher than cereal prices, the research group added. So, making this issue even more complicated. Mashed is what they call themselves. Also reported that there is a simultaneous palm oil shortage in Indonesia. So, since Indonesia is the world's leading producer of palm oil, any ongoing supply issue only compound the potential problem of vegetable oil availability in 2023, the outlet wrote. And so, champagne, for those of you that like champagne, that's number three on the list. As Mashed also recently pointed out, I guess Mashed is some kind of periodical, I'm guessing. Climate change greatly impacted the production of champagne, meaning it might not be easily accessible in the next year. So the publication wrote that a rash extreme weather that year, 2021, resulted in devastating numbers of crops growing fungus on them, leading to a smaller and average crop yield. So number four is beers and canned food and pet food. A notable aluminum shortage which began in 2020, that affects beers, canned food, and also pet food is still happening, as reported by Click Orlando. So the television station also recently indicated the labor shortages, the pandemic, the ongoing supply chain crisis, and increased demand are all to blame. Okay, so as far as aluminum shortage ending, experts are hesitant with predictions. Company Vincent Metals suggested. However, most agree that the earliest expected end would be sometime in 2023. So, as the nation moves back towards normalcy, aluminum purchasing could subside and have uncertain impacts on the supply chain. So, in the meantime, additional production plants are being constructed to keep up the high demand and current shortage. And so, that is the article. Those are three different articles, but I feel like they're somewhat connected to what's going on, what we're hearing happening here. That is doesn't sound like it's getting any better. And if they do this right here, but we see this, if there was some kind of nuclear threat and it actually was carried through, I would believe that would also affect food and gas and some of the things we're already dealing with now. It would make it even far worse. Um, so anyway, I will drop these articles titles in the description box. But yeah, guys, this is not good news, of course, unfortunately. And then I wanted to add a little bit onto this. I don't know if you've been looking at the news and looking at the airports, but they are jammed, crowded with people who are stuck there. They were stuck the whole holiday season. The Southwest Airlines and certain airlines, there were mass cancellations because of the snowstorms and the bad weather. Now, I'm just going to say this, and I know some people don't want to hear, but I would probably check to see what the weather is like first before I would decide to go travel. And then with all of what's going on, I might want to do a staycation. And I know people want to travel and see family members, but you might want to do that like in another time of the year when the weather isn't as crazy as how it is now. Um, have you looked at some of the places where the snowstorms are just really like just it's awful? I don't see anything, not even a car, nothing getting through all of that. But if you look, a lot of that has to do with why the planes had, the planes are not able to fly in that weather. It'd be worse if they just said, okay, well, we're going to take a chance and let all these people get on the plane, and then they get up there and then have a horrible crash, or they can't even make it up there or make it to where they need to go, and they get stranded somewhere, and it's worse, far worse than being stranded in the airport, which being stranded in the airport isn't fun. But I see they got water bottles, they got all these things to try to make the people feel a little bit more comforted that they're going to try to resolve their issues. I think they also are probably giving people back their money. They might be doing that. Some people might decide to just take a reverse course and go back home because the weather is just so bad. Maybe they can't get back home, or maybe they have to go another mode of transportation to get home because the weather is just awful. But you'll see like families, kids, people who wants to be stuck in an airport all Christmas. Some people were. That's the sad part. And so I just thought I would throw all of this in there because I think a lot of times people they're big on trying to get likes, and they're trying to get all this you know notoriety on these little videos and things like that. But I try to be honest enough and come out with what is real, or at least enough of what I know. What I know of. Some people got issues. They gotta fight you on everything you say. Instead of looking at things for reality of, there's nothing good about any of this. So despite, oh, you gotta look at this and find this and all this, I'm like, it's not like you can either. But I'm just saying these things are real. It's not like it's, people say, oh, this is not going to happen. It's not, I feel like people don't believe things until it's at their front door. And oftentimes it's far too late then. You don't wait until danger hits you in the face. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in, where people don't take things serious. And then when the person is basically telling you, this and this is what could happen, kind of prepare so you won't be shocked. Then when it happens, they're like, oh, I heard this somewhere. Where did I hear this? So, me. So anyway, and probably other things you've seen have given you like some clue as to that this stuff is not fake. It is real. It is not fake news. None of that BS that people have been so used to, falling for. This everything is fake news. It isn't. Everything is not fake. Um, the things that are fake is what you're listening to, and the things that aren't fake is what you perceive to be fake because it's scary what it is. It's scary to hear nuclear war or food shortage, things like that. The climate is being affected, and now you got all these people stranded at the airport, and they've been there all Christmas, and somehow they don't believe in climate change, I guess. And so what they think is not real is actually the reason why they're stuck in the airport. So certain ones, I don't think that's everybody, but there are some people, they just thought we can just do whatever we want and none of this is happening. And now you're affected some kind of way. So anyway, I'm gonna let this article go, I'm gonna let this go. But yeah, so that's pretty much, there are new laws for the year of 2023. There, every year there's new laws, so you might want to check those out too. But there's going to be somebody saying that's fake news too. Even though those laws are coming into effect starting January 2023. um, for one, I know that minimum wage is supposed to be raised. That isn't fake news, y'all, that's real. So anyway, so having said that, I'm kind of panning back there, so you can see, um, because people say, "Oh, I can't see." I mean, you can see if you see the title of the article, you can see the the reality of the situation in it. And it's not like I put the title of the article so that you can access it and you can read what I've just read, and you can look for, where it comes from, what you'll see the source of where it comes from, and you can determine whether it's credible or not. Um, a lot of times what I'm saying is not something that comes from directly me. It comes from a source of different things that are happening. And two, if you just turn on the news, you can see that this stuff is happening. So it isn't fake. So everything isn't fake, y'all. So those who are like that, I think it's a denial mechanism. It's fear because we know the shit is hitting the fan. We don't want to see it and we don't want to hear it. So we're going to pretend like the shit is fake. So that's basically what it is, which is not a good way to deal with the situations like this. It isn't. It is not. So anyway, I'm going to let this go. I will leave the rest of the articles in the description box. Just take a look what's happening at the airports. Massive cancellations. Um, there's also some travel bans that are going on because there's some snow blizzards that are just awful out there and people can't get through. I mean, people are literally in the airports. They're sleeping. That is their their Airbnb right now. And I'm not saying that is it's just sad. I mean, I would have said, you know what, it's too damn cold. I'm staying my butt home. That's my way. I would have said that, like there's no way I would be going out and, well, let's get tickets ready. Let's go. Yeah, either you guys are coming here, and if it's too cold for you guys to come here and too dangerous, then you stay on. We will get on. What is it called? They have the, what is it, Skype and all the other ones, Zoom. We will do Christmas like that. We are not going to be stuck in no airport. I bet you this time, the folks that are going through this, I bet you they'll think next time, we're not going through that next year. We are not going to be stuck in the airport. We're going to either leave early when the season is the weather's better, and we will visit early and have like a summer vacay, or we'll have like a spring vacay or something. So, but we are not right in the middle of the worst season. Oh my God. In terms of the weather patterns, it's just awful. It's battering some of the places. Mm-mm. No way. So we shall see how all of this plays out. But I do know the gas has gone down significantly. But with that going down, what that said to me when the gas prices started going down, I said, well, what else is going to go up? That's the thing that was in my head right then and there. What else is going to get affected that, don't toot your horn too quick. Thinking, yay, the gas prices went down. Now you have, and they hit you with this. So